The Real Deal Show. Brought to you by eBodyboarding.com and Tribe Boards.
I've got footage of Ryan Hardy's board from Bali Bodyboarding with really massive elbow thingies in it. Yeah, like absolutely screwed.
You seen his elbows? They're like knives.
Poking.
Yeah.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
I'm rolling
Yeah.
right now, by
It's
the way.
like
This is all
when he-
gold.
When he hit the vegan stage, he turned into a skeleton. He was like 6'70" kilos. His elbows were like daggers.
Oh my
There's a
God.
cut back.
Should be a
Yeah.
kickboxer.
He started kickboxing and feasting.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I took him to my gym and he got the froth for it, and then went back to Margs and started kickboxing and feasting.
Wow.
Who's feast?
Pre-roll
Feast,
about
yeah.
Ryan Hardy.
Oh.
Kim Feast.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, we ready? We've already been rolling. So here we go. We're going to do an introduction of everyone. Then I'm going to ask each of you specifically a question about the injuries. You ready? Okay. Are we going to keep the yippies in the shot there?
Yeah, of
It's
course
fine.
we
It's
are.
fine with me. I don't care.
We are.
People will be like, what are
Okay.
yippies?
All right, here we go. Yeah, yippies. Hey guys, Jay Reale back at you with the Real Deal Show once again on location in El Salvador with the Bodyboard Holidays crew. We are here for our 6th time, and seated with me a round table of talent here in the bodyboarding world. We'll start with my left, your right. That is Joao Veiga from Portugal.
João.
Joao, gotta say it right. Rob Barber, the owner, operator, and purveyor of Bodyboard Holidays and the Nuki Activity Center, who has been on this podcast 3 times in the past. You may be the most prolific visitor to our podcast. My beautiful wife, Vicki Reale, next to me, who hates being on podcasts. And Rusty Morrison. You can see my interview with Rusty. I'll link it down below in the description. From Western Australia, now living in Bali, drop knee proponent, shall we say, among other things, aficionado, Aussie. So I'm limited on microphones, so I do have the stick mic. I'm going to pass this around. But today's topic is one that's pretty interesting, and not many people have covered it, and it is basically bodyboarding injuries. So I get asked a lot, is bodyboarding a dangerous sport? And I'm going to toss the mic, first of all, to Rob Barber. So let's cover that basic topic before we get in the injury part there. Rob, take the mic. Tell us, is bodyboarding a dangerous sport?
Well, no, I can confidently say no, Jay, based on my experience, you know, from running my trips all around the world, running daily lessons in Nuki, bodyboarders of all abilities, so, you know, we get plenty of really good level bodyboarders like Rusty, and plenty of bodyboarders that are new to the sport or have returned to the sport and might not necessarily be in peak physical state, and they go out bodyboarding and day after day in different conditions, different, you know, reefs, beaches, everything. We very rarely, touch wood, get any kind of injuries. Now, we have lots of safety protocols in place, we have lots of guidelines, and we'd like to think we go above and beyond to keep people safe. It's what we do, but you know, people do what they want to do in the waves, and we're just so fortunate to be doing something where you land in water most of the time, don't you?
Yeah.
You know, it's not skateboarding, it's not mountain biking, it's not soccer or football, I should say. Just keeping you guys informed about you know, where you're in contact, are you? So as far as the sport's concerned, for me, it's so safe, and I'm so grateful for that, because nobody wants to see anyone get injured.
And pass the mic to Joao, because you do bodyboarding and surfing instruction in Portugal. Safe sport? Bodyboarding?
Yeah, definitely it's a safe sport. Sometimes, of course, injuries happen, but statistically I think it's not relevant. It's just normal. You spend a lot of hours doing a sport. It's normal that once in a while injuries happen. I bodyboard for 30 years. I had like 3 major injuries, so it's not a bad statistic.
Okay, so that's good. 2 guys that do this pretty much for a living. They teach people how to bodyboard. And you know, with any athletic pursuit, anyone who's an athlete at any point in their life, there is always the risk of injury. Even if you're a golfer, you're a bowler, for crying out loud. You could throw out your back throwing the bowling ball. So there is an inherent risk with any athletic pursuit, of course, and of course we love our sports. We choose to take that risk to participate in our sport. So since, yes, you have a comment to make. Yeah,
I
pass
just
the mic.
remembered I hit you in the face with a GoPro in Costa
Yeah,
Rica.
that's
I just forgot about that.
All
It
right.
just came to my mind.
I love it. I
So
love
I'll
it.
see if I can find that clip.
Yeah,
Okay,
that'd be
so
great.
since we haven't heard from Rusty, I'm going to pass that over to you. So, Rusty, let's talk about it. You've been bodyboarding many years. Personal injuries that you've suffered. Give us a couple of the highlights. Talk about it.
Probably for me, the worst ones come from drop kneeing most of the time. It's a bit of a funny, awkward position to get into anyway.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, I've only ever been injured in small waves.
Yeah.
So
I hear that a lot.
my right knee, I've tweaked that twice now. Gone to do a snap, my back leg has flown off the back of the board or slipped off the back of the board, and all the weight's gone onto my front leg and it's twisted my leg out. So I've done my ACL and my MCL a couple of times badly, bordering on needing surgery.
But you never got surgery.
Didn't want to go down that road. I know a lot of people after they have surgery, it's just never quite the same. So just ate turmeric like they were M&Ms and
Wow.
acupuncture and, physiotherapist, and did all the exercises and stayed off it, and did as I was told, and it's come back pretty good.
What's the role of turmeric? I'm interested.
Turmeric's a natural anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
So my knee blown up like a balloon. So you could be taking anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen, but they also rot your guts out. So there's a flip side to trying to look after yourself. You can get like stomach ulcers and stuff like that from it.
Yeah.
Which is never good.
Anti-inflammatories, that's kind of a common thing. I think.
Yeah, like it's a means to an end.
If you take
but,
enough.
like, prolonged use,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good thing. But something like turmeric, it's not like you can overdose on it.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't yet, so
Well, it's a physics thing with you, because how tall are you, Rusty?
6'4". It's about 194 in
Centimeters.
yeah, in centimeters.
And that's, so you think about a lever, the longer the lever is between the fulcrum, the more likely it is to bend and break.
Yeah.
So you have long limbs,
Yeah, like
more
a
likely.
higher center of gravity, so I'll use that as an excuse for toppling over all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good stuff. Let's pass it to Vicki. We're going to get back to you on another question I have. Vicki, bodyboarding injuries that you've suffered over the years.
Well, since I'm female,
Keep that right up there. Yeah.
I don't have to deal with nads getting injured, but I got boobs.
Twig and berries.
So what you guys don't experience is,
Always goes to the
well,
the
we have to
lowest.
hear from the females'
Okay, sure.
perspective. I mean, I've seen you go, oh, me nuts,
Okay, all right.
and I'm like, oh, shit, me boobs.
Uh-huh.
But besides that, knock on wood, I guess the biggest injury I have is my tattoo from Waco, Texas.
Rob has somewhere better to be, apparently.
To do my podcast.
Oh, that's right.
My biggest injury, I have a tattoo here from Waco, Texas, from just hitting
So
the
from our
bottom.
people that are listening on audio only and not watching the video,
yeah.
that is her shoulder,
Yeah.
which scraped the bottom
Yes.
in Texas.
Yeah. And other than that, sunburn eyes. I don't know if that's considered an injury, but knock on wood, that's all I've had is just sunburn eyes. Do you guys get that? Oh, it's brutal. And as far as the worst injury I've seen, do you remember when we went to Indo with Guillermo and he rode HTs, wasn't it? We were riding
Yes,
HTs.
we were at HTs. Okay,
And-
so you're jumping ahead to my next
Oh,
topic.
whoops.
So hold on to that.
Okay, I will.
Because I want to get to Rob. What
always
is
do that.
your worst injuries?
Worst injuries, most recently would be my rotator cuff. I did my left rotator cuff bodyboarding. Yeah, just tried to pull into a barrel at a wedge and took a lip on the shoulder, and it just I was so shocked how painful it was.
Was that
Unbelievable.
Tolkarn?
No, it was another
Different
wedge.
one.
Will remain nameless.
Secret wedge, okay.
And then yeah, other than that, I did a neck injury, like really badly, landed straight on my head in Brazil at the World Surfing Games in Brazil. That wedge we were talking about, San
Yep.
Conrado. Yeah, that was so bad. Like I couldn't move my head properly, and I was still in the comp, and it was just like so frustrating. Other than that, oh yeah, I've hit the reef on my back. Had a pretty bad cut, funnily enough, at a reef in Cornwall, Constantine Reef.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right through your wetsuit, cut you.
Yeah, through my way.
Jeez.
Yeah, cut my way. We had to go to hospital for that, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. I can't really think of been anything else.
Anything that kept you out of the water for a length of time?
That rotator cuff. was
Rotator
like-
cuff one.
Yeah,
How long were you out?
Probably best part of 3 months.
wow.
Yeah.
And you just had to do nothing. And they
Yeah.
didn't do surgery or anything.
Just what Rusty said. Just do all the rubber band stretching,
Yeah.
and eat well and do all like the movements all the time. But yeah, it came back good. It's
Okay.
as good as new. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Over to Joao, yeah?
Yeah, Joao, let's hear about your injuries, Joao.
So my worst injury was the shoulder, left shoulder, basically landing from an invert. I think probably I opened it a little bit the elbow on the landing, and I kind of Superman it on the end. So I had a dislocated shoulder and fractured in 3 places.
Oh,
So I had to go to surgery.
Oh, dang.
wow. How
Yeah.
long were you out of the water?
So I was out of the water for 4 months, more or less, 3 to 4. And I went back but couldn't do maneuvers. So I would say that the full recovery was about 6 months,
Wow.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
2 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Making anniversary now.
Yes. Oh, man, crazy. Okay, so my injuries. Oh, you wanted to
So
say
sorry.
something else?
Back to me. I prefer to be talking rather than anyone else talking, as you know, Jay.
Yeah.
I actually just remembered I got staph in Hawaii.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and I got home, and so it's not an injury, it's an illness, from
Yeah,
the water, and I just
right.
was constantly being sick every time I ate,
Yeah.
and that went on for like 4 months. And
So you're vomiting after you eat.
after every meal.
It wasn't
Yeah.
from
Wow.
a
Pardon?
cut? Like, it wasn't from a cut?
Did you have a cut?
Yeah,
Is that
cut
how
on
you
my
got
knee.
stabbed?
Yeah, it was a
A
cut on
reef
my knee.
cut?
Yeah.
Got
It was
it.
on this knee from Haliva. Log cabins. Yeah, and it was just got infected, went minging, and then I was like young at the time, didn't really know what I was doing, didn't really look after it. Got home, just so sick, it was hideous. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
Yeah,
Okay.
over to
I
you.
have more stories to tell you.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's bring it back to Joao.
Microphone
You remember
holds.
me.
Yes.
So yeah, then I had a small torn on my ligament,
Yep.
and I did kind of 2 basic mistakes at the same time. So the first mistake I think was not seeking for guided help. I tried to heal it on my own,
Yeah.
and then I got really afraid. I went to the doctor, and then I waited too long before started moving.
Yeah.
So I think
it
this
stiffened up.
This is really important that people understand to seek always for medical advice, expertise, and not wait too long or just go straight into the water. I did both. Didn't wait
Yeah.
the first time. Then I realized I was bad. Went to the doctor and waited too long because I was afraid to go to the water.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Okay.
broken metacarpal from an invert as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's no problem.
Yeah. But I love them, so I can't stop.
Wow.
So basically, I was in the middle of the air, and my hand slipped
Yes.
on the board. Tried to land anyway, and when I was about to grab the rail, I got my hand stuck in between my body and my board. Yeah. So
Brutal.
broken finger this way. And I would say that talking about eyes, already had like sand on my eyes and had to take it like on a
With a needle.
semi surgery. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Jeez, Joao.
But I love
Wow.
bodyboarding, so I'll never stop.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, now I don't feel so bad about my injuries. Jeez, that's Joao and you guys. So my injuries, obviously, one most recently was well documented. I did a series of vlogs about my collarbone that I broke in Waco. I'll link that as well down below in the description on YouTube for those of you watching the video. So but that was basically an ARS attempt, and I was a little high in the air for my comfort level, and I was in that arched back position ready to take the impact on my ribs, and I thought, this is potentially going to break one of my ribs, so I tucked my shoulder under to take the impact of the landing, which I thought would be on the water, and my board somehow got right under my shoulder and slammed my shoulder on the board, snapped the collarbone instantly. So yeah, that was a tough one for me because we were going to Indonesia 5.5 weeks later, and I wanted to surf, and the doctors told me that wasn't a good idea. But I did surf anyway, just shy of 7 weeks, with still broken. It was still clicking when I would stand up or bodyboard, but it didn't re-break. And about I'd say 9 weeks till I didn't notice it anymore. So that was lucky compared to what you guys have gone through. Prior injuries, I remember sprained my ankle at Ballina, doing a drop knee floater, landed really hard, went over my front foot, sprained the ankle. It was my first day in Australia. I was there for a month. And so I just kept surfing.
Can't hold him down.
I just wrapped it up and just wore one fin until I could stand the pain of wearing 2 fins. It was too swollen to put a fin on for about 2 weeks, and then I was able to get a fin on, but I couldn't really kick too well. But by the end of the trip, it was pretty good. I remember we surfed Black Rock, a really good day. Still hurt a little, but yeah, those were kind of my 2 big ones. And then, like everyone else, I've had many reef cuts. Face planted the reef at Rocky Point once, cut the bridge of my nose pretty bad. And then once doing an ARS in Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, bruised ribs landing kind of awkwardly on my elbow, and that I don't think I was out of the water at all, but yeah, that one was many years ago, so I don't remember how long I was out. So yeah, but let's get to worst injuries you've seen other people sustain. Now this could get nasty because I know we've all seen some gnarly ones. Rusty, I'm going to start with you, buddy.
Probably the worst one I've seen, it was while I was bodyboarding. It happened to a surfer in Indonesia when I was young. We used to do these, remember the chicken boat trips?
Yes.
You'd go from Bali and then go to the other islands, and there were always chickens on the roof. So this is many moons ago. A guy, we were surfing a wave, and a guy on a mal, he was a bigger fella. He was super tall, about 6'9", just built like a barrel, like a beast of a man. He must have weighed about 150 kilos.
Oh my God.
He got caught on the top of a wave, paddling for a wave on like a 10-foot mal, and as he's come down, his board's kind of flattened out in front of him, and he's kind of head first into his board, and then just copped his face like straight into the board, and then the wave has come down and then pushed his face into his board, like pressed his face into his board.
Why are you laughing?
I don't mean to laugh.
It's just
it would be on kook slams nowadays,
Probably,
but Jesus,
yeah,
that sounds horrendous.
Yeah, it was bad. The whole lineup, just,
groaning.
Yeah, just groaning big time. So somehow he's paddled back out into the lineup and just sat there waiting for another wave, and he'd split his forehead open, like almost to his eyes, and broken his nose, and there's just blood pouring out of his nose, and he split his lip open, like he split himself perfectly down his face.
Whoa.
Just peeled himself open like a can. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And he paddled back out to get another wave.
Everyone's like, "You're all right, mate." He's like, "Oh, yeah." It's just like, as tough as an old boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
What happened? Did someone come get him?
I think he was on one of the boats.
Oh.
So I think he paddled back to the boat, and probably stitched himself up.
Wow. That's
It was pretty gnarly. That was
Rambo
and that was at the start of the trip.
Wow.
So like that boat had 8 days to go.
Oh my God. That's the worst, man. Okay, Vicki, what do you got for us? Worst injury you've seen?
Yeah, luckily I haven't seen anything.
You've been
super
sheltered. You led a
gnarly.
sheltered life.
Yeah, what's going on now? Yeah, I just remember the GT incident.
Yeah, talk about that. You started to touch on that.
Yeah,
and I
we were
stopped you.
on
Yeah.
a boat trip in Indo. Gosh, this was in the 90s, and killer crew GT, Epo, Macca,
Lanson.
First time to Indo on a boat trip, I think, for us.
Yeah.
And we went to this,
yeah.
it was
I had been
HT's,
on
I
another
think,
one.
this epic right-hander in Indo. And knowing Guilherme, you know, freak of nature, he's charging deep and shallow. So he took off on a wave and didn't make it and just scraped the reef and almost took his nipple off. I just remember.
Yeah, close.
I think we got pictures of it, and he's just like sliced all on his chest. And so I don't think he needed stitches or anything, but that was, I don't know, that was about the gnarliest I've seen as far as, yeah. But I
Yeah.
don't know, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Rob, what do you got for us? Worst injuries you've seen?
I've seen a girl surf a head plant into the reef. It was actually in El Salvador, which is bizarre because it's not really sketchy here at all, is it? You know.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like again, opened her head up, and then yeah, it was just like massive gaping hole, and actually gave her a hand, put in some super glue in it, and closed it up, and off she went. Yeah, but that's about as bad as it's been. Luckily, I haven't seen too much worse than that. You know. Saw Damien Priss take a surfboard to his head actually when we were in the Ments on a boat trip. Seems to be a theme here about boat trips.
Yeah.
And yeah, he got stabbed, and then the captain stitched it up. So
Wow.
that was his sort of lesson for leaving his boogie on the boat and taking his surfboard
Yeah,
out there.
man.
So, yeah.
The
But
stick.
yeah, over to you, Jimmy.
Yeah. Worst injury you've seen?
Yeah, so once in a while, because I teach at a very crowded place back in Porto, full of surfboards. Some learners without being on a lesson doesn't help at all. So sometimes it happens like crashes with surfboards, and of course open heads or something like that. Already saw a guy dislocating his shoulder in front of me, so we helped him get an ambulance. He was really in pain, not
Yeah.
as much as I was, so it depends on every person.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it, but a good friend of mine, his name is Nuno, Portuguese. Basically, he airdropped like a scorpion in Super Tubos, and well, now he's on a wheelchair. But yeah, he has a really positive mind, really positive mindset. He's a doctor.
Really?
So yeah, he was a surgeon. I think he doesn't perform surgeries anymore, but yeah, he's on the yeah.
Was he
Good
surfing?
bodyboarder, actually. Yeah.
Oh, he was
he was
bodyboarding?
Yeah.
And he free fell from the lip and scorpioned?
So basically, the banks in Super Tubos are really flat,
Shallow. Yeah.
but at that time on the inside, it kind of had a higher peak. So he airdropped straight to the peak with his head. PLC actually helped him getting out of the water. He was
Wow.
one of the legends that helped him. So yeah, it can happen.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
definitely it's worth the risk.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
it's kind of like law of averages, isn't it? Whatever you
Yeah.
do, if it's your time for something to happen to you, you know, without getting
Yes.
too deep, I think something will happen to you, won't it? It's just one of those things in life. But yeah, super unlucky to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, look at you yesterday, Jay, in small waves. You scorpioned, but that was the lip hit.
Yeah.
So like you were saying, Russ, small waves. Even in small waves, you can get injured. What happened yesterday?
Yeah, just yesterday, 2 days ago actually it was, but it was, 2 foot faces, shore break, but slabbing, and I was paddling out and trying to get under one of the waves, and I just couldn't quite make it, and the lip literally detonated on my lower back and just folded me. I could feel my body just bend in half like the wrong way, hyperextension. And I came up and I was like, oh man, if I'd have bent another 6 inches, I don't know what would have happened, and what a way to go out, But luckily it's, it's getting better now. But yeah, probably just strained the muscles back there. But yeah, my bodyboarding career, I've seen not physically there when these happened, but most prominently was a friend of mine named Ron Zabel, who is one of the top bodyboarders in California. He used to compete on the US Pro Tour, and he was a wedge regular, really good at the wedge, really good tube rider, drop knee guy. And one day he was out at the wedge, I think 2007, and it was a solid day, and he pulled into a barrel, and I believe a backwash hit and scorpioned him and broke 2 of his vertebrae. And Chad Barber is one of the guys that fished him out of the water. He couldn't move, and he got to the beach, and to this day now he's partially paralyzed. He can walk, but he needs the help of a walker and a brace, and he's bodyboarding, but he can't ride any heavy waves or anything like that. But he always posts pictures of himself from before the accident and references, oh, this is before the accident. So that had a massive impact on him because bodyboarding was his life.
Yeah.
And 2 guys most recently in Orange County where we live at Salt Creek, a young guy named Evan McMillan passed away in the surf at Salt Creek. Nobody knows for sure what happened. He was on a surfboard this one day, and it was very small, and no one was out. And he wiped out on a small wave and then didn't come up. And I guess he was in the water for quite some time before somebody found him because there was nobody else surfing that day. And it's conjectured that he might have hit a rock or a lobster trap that was washed in. And this year, most recently, in 2024, September, I believe it was, another friend named Ty, about a little younger than me, in his 50s, regular guy out there, been riding it for decades, pulled into a barrel, came out of the tube, and then I guess he went to duck through the back as it closed out. And as I'm told, I wasn't there that day, he got sucked over and he got slammed face first into the bottom. Some people think he hit a rock because same deal like your story, Rusty. It basically kind of like split, his face open and impacted his lungs and his breathing, and he was underwater. He got pulled to the shore, but didn't recover from that and passed away as well. So, yeah, I know it's horrible to talk about it, but you're right. We all know all the stuff that goes on at Pipeline and Chopu and the famous big wave surfers that have passed away, Mark Fu, Todd Chesser, and so forth, Cyan Molosky. It happens. Like I said, in any sport, injuries are possible, and it shouldn't prevent people from doing what they love to do. You're taking a calculated risk. Depends on the sport, of course, how much of a risk you're taking, but I think the vast majority of people that have been doing sports like ours all their lives, they do it till the day they die of old age or something else, not from surfing. Any final thoughts, Joao? I'll pass that on to you.
I think it's all said. It's a really beautiful sport. Statistically, it's not that dangerous. We're talking about lots of riders, lots of waves. So the number of events, it's huge comparing to the number of injuries.
Right.
So let's just keep on bodyboarding, of course, with safety, and enjoy ourselves. Yeah.
I think more guys get hit by stray golf balls on the golf course. Rob, what do you got?
Yeah, it sounds as though from each of those incidents, there's not really a lot that could be done to avoid them. Do you know what I mean? They're doing the normal thing, aren't they? It's not as if it makes sense if somebody's using Mark Fu as an example. He's surfing massive Mavericks. You'd imagine there's increased danger and more likelihood of death.
Sure.
Whereas surfing Salt Creek or Wedge, that's where you bodyboard, isn't it? That's you're just doing normal bodyboarding activity. So I would say that you can increase your chances of being all right. I mean, we're really focused on bodyboard holidays to make everybody aware of like the hand helmet, and everybody does do that as soon as they're underwater. It can only help, can't it? To protect your head and your spinal column, and then avoiding other surfers. We haven't really talked about it, but collisions with surfers are the biggest hazard for me.
Yes.
Busy lineups.
Right.
I didn't mention earlier on, but I actually cut my eyebrow and had stitches in here from collision with a surfer, and that would be something. That's the big thing that we flesh out with our guests is like, watch out, the biggest hazard out there are surfers, usually, especially if they're inexperienced. So, you can take measures. I recommend it. Be sensible, be qualified in some life-saving skills, be aware of currents. You can hedge your bets to increase your chances of being all right, but there will be these isolated instances that you can do nothing about. So it is what it is with every sport, isn't it? Or every part of life. So very sad, but there's amazing stories, aren't there? Like Joel Taylor,
Yeah.
who's had this, life-changing incident at Pipeline, and then completely turned it around and put such a positive direction into his life, culminating in him becoming the world champion, isn't he? And that's incredible. I love watching his Instagram story, posts and seeing what he's up to, and it's an incredible inspirational story, isn't it?
Yeah.
So some good can come of these situations that are incredibly tragic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Rob. Vicky, final thoughts?
Yeah, along those lines, Bethany Hamilton, and we never talked about sea creatures and sharks, and look
another
at her
hazard.
story. She's, and also speaking along the lines of preventative actions, helmets. I'm not plugging GAF helmets or DMC soft helmets, which are available on eBodyboarding.com, but,
The link is down in the description.
But, wearing them, they're good if you're out with, at Sano with a bunch of surf longboarders, beginners, they can't turn the board. You're there, in their way. They can't turn to avoid you.
Yeah.
And there was something else I was going to mention. Oh, and, being aware of people in the lineup, your friends, making sure you are looking out for others. I think that's something huge that we all should do as wave riders is, look at, who's out there and where they are and make sure, like I'm always doing it to Jay and Kieran, obviously, and you guys, like, where's Kieran? I haven't seen him in a while. And of course the panicking mom moments happen where I'm like, is he all right? Did he hit the bottom? So just being aware of, the people out in the lineup and looking after each other, I think that's important. And preventative actions as far as you go is get fit and healthy and make sure you're limber and, stay active so you're not putting yourself in danger, because there's so many people that'll paddle out at the wedge or pipe and they really shouldn't be out there.
Yeah.
So,
Good point.
Yeah.
Flexibility.
Yeah. Get some stretching in.
Just some training.
Cardio,
yeah, sure. I mean, any sport, but for sure ocean sports, because the surface that we play on constantly changes and undulates, unlike most sports where it's fixed.
Yeah.
So you have to be prepared to deal with that.
Yeah, but there's no reason to not go out because you think you're going to get hurt. You could get run over by a car tomorrow, and, living life and bodyboarding, if it makes you happy, just do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't worry about what we're saying. We're not trying to deter you, but just stay off my waves.
Rusty.
Staying in the couch is also dangerous.
Yeah, that's
You're right.
Yeah.
Rusty, final thoughts, bud.
I definitely think that compared to other sports, statistically, bodyboarding's pretty safe.
Yeah.
It's as safe as you want to make it.
Yep.
If you are, exactly. Yeah. If you're, there's definitely more risk involved in surfing heavier waves. But if you don't want to surf heavy waves, then just don't. Going in the ocean is dangerous.
Yeah.
But statistically, I think you've got to get into a car generally to go to the ocean, and that's pretty dangerous. It doesn't stop anybody from doing that. Constantly being from Australia, getting asked about sharks and have you seen a shark and don't you get worried and stuff like that, having the regret of not going into the ocean, I think, would be far worse than going to the ocean.
Sure.
So, if you've got the regret of, I might get hurt,
Yeah.
I'd rather get a couple of little injuries than be sitting out on the beach and not surfing.
Good point.
Well, just like a couple of little shark bites or something. Yeah. Nibbles. I just want to add in, I know we're trying to wrap it up, but I think hesitation and being cautious can actually bite you in the ass. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If there's anything that I've learned from being a bodyboard coach, those that are they're trying to half bodyboard, so not wanting to pull into barrels or like paddle into waves and then pull back and then go over the falls.
Yep.
That can really be a negative in regards to, or increase your chance of getting injured.
Sure.
I think it decreases your chance of having a successful ride.
You have to commit.
You've got to be, in it to win it, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? So you can't really half do it. You kind of got to go in there and try and ride the waves, and then you'll generally always have a good time. But if you kind of going in there and hesitating. I know that it's easy for me to say, I've been doing it for such a long time, and overcoming those fears, it isn't easy for everyone, and that's what we help people do. But that is a big hurdle, that if you can put those fears to the back of your mind and just ride the waves, in a normal fashion, then you'll generally be all right.
Yeah, I think, Rusty pointed something out that I think is pretty valid, and that is that you can make it as risky or as mellow as you want. If you want to charge big, heavy waves over coral reef, you're going to be taking a higher risk. But if you want to ride 2-footers over sand, you're going to be pretty unlikely to encounter any injuries. But all of the preparation is all part of that, no matter what kind of waves you ride, which Vicki touched on. Fitness, stretching, eating right. That goes for any athletic activity. That's a slam dunk and a no-brainer, so to speak. Okay, let's wrap this up. I just want to thank Joao Veiga, Rob Barber, Vicki Reale, and Rusty Morrison for joining me in this roundtable discussion about bodyboarding injuries. There's so many more gruesome injuries we could discuss if we wanted to go on and on, but I think we've touched on this topic pretty well. So folks, if you enjoyed this podcast, give us the thumbs up here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you listen on the audio podcast, hope you enjoyed doing that during your run, workout, drive in the car, or while the teacher's yammering on in class and you're pretending to listen.
And get some bodyboard lessons.
Get some bodyboard lessons from this guy at Bodyboard Holidays, which is why we're here in El Salvador, folks. You can find them at Bodyboard-Holidays. Dash is what we call it in America. Hyphen is also acceptable.
I got it.
You're not thinking of /, so it's Bodyboard
internationally corrected.
dash or hyphen holidays.com, and on Instagram at Bodyboard Holidays.
Yeah.
So.
And if you're in Portugal, what's your school?
So the school I work at, it's called Linha de Onda. LINHADEONDA.
Listen to that
Yeah.
English, man.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh, thanks, Jay.
Awesome.
And I remember just speaking one line of Vicki. If you're surfing alone, if you're bodyboarding alone, you don't have nobody to look out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
Never bodyboard alone.
Yeah.
That's how I dislocated the shoulder, actually.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
So we're learning lessons from Joao, who made all the mistakes for you. All right, that'll wrap it up, folks. Thanks again for all of you watching and supporting the Real Deal Show. We'll see you next time. And as always, we'll see you in the surf. These guys don't know my tagline.
No.
Over and out, folks. I should have filled you in before.